This is just a sample, just one example of the use of force cards that normally are given out. Listen. Maybe you're, maybe you know somebody who knows somebody. I don't know. But you can send this. Oh, Sheriff's is the standard pass that's mostly used. Unfortunately, it takes some time for their turnaround. Here's the application. This is the LAPD one. Okay. I'm getting information on how to also fill a Los Angeles Sheriff's Department and a Los Angeles Police Department press clearance. Not that it stops. Not that it fucking stops the cops from still, you know, deploying tear gas on me or even arresting me potentially for violating a curfew, but I'm trying to make sure that we do this in the best possible way. So I'm working on getting that clearance so I can maybe navigate a little bit easier. You might want to dress differently. What are these cards for? I assume Ken suspects that... Lady Tony, thank you for the 50 gifted subs. I assume Ken suspects that these are going to be handed out for rules of engagement for all of the troops that are being deployed. You know? Wear the nurse uniform. Yeah, I'm not wearing a fucking MAGA hat. I saw... Here's the other thing, by the way. Murat, don't do that. Here's the other thing I wanted to show you guys. Remember that, like, Mormon guy, that fucking right-wing influencer? The right-wing influencer that, like, will go around and ask, like, silly-ass questions to people? In an effort to, like, belittle them and stuff. Nick Shirley, yeah, he had a not so pleasant interaction with some protesters. And he posted it. He's been going all around. He's been going all around and going on a fucking tear with this, like... Yeah, here. Anti-ICE protesters in LA try to rob me and kick me out of their streets. Also, he misspelled there, just so you understand how fucking stupid he is. Now, look at the interaction that I had. Match the interaction that I had with every single person that was at these protests versus this guy.
He's a fucking white nationalist. Fuck this guy. You're not fucking bitch.
Don't touch the camera.
Fucking bitch. I know.
Hey.
You're fucking.
I don't do anything.
Get the fuck out of here. I know you fucking do. You fucking white nationalist.
What's up? Well, I mean, I was around these dudes the whole day. It's just like, it's just so crazy. It's just so wild. There is obviously there's a reason for it, you know, because these guys literally go and antagonize the protesters and try to fucking actually film people without their consent, film people doing like things that might not be legal, you know, that sort of shit. Clip chimp them IRL.
Motherfucker. I know who the fuck you are, you fucking Republican bitch.
Bro, you don't need to put... If he's one of them, they're gonna get it.
I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna fucking punch you in the fucking face. fucking little faggot.
What did I do?
You know what the fuck you do?
What did I do?
You know you fucking antagonize people? Oh, fuck your fucking bitch ass up.
I'm not doing anything.
Get the fuck out of here. Just like the cops. Get the fuck out of
Hey,
here.
I have a right to be here just like you.
Yeah, so do we, motherfucker.
Okay, I'm not-
So why the cops here? You're a fucking cop. That's what you
I'm not
fucking
the
are.
cop.
Yeah, you are. You fucking
How am I a
asshole.
cop?
You want to fucking...
He's one of those diet Tyler Oliveira types. Yeah, full video. Los Angeles is fallen. Riders are taking over the streets. Riders are throwing bricks at cops. Organized groups are planning attacks. All this shit.
Flag.
Mexico flags of the LA protest. Like, that's what he's doing. He's like, and also he's getting 500 fucking likes on this shit too. Like, he's trying to cut as much as he can. He got into a Channel 5 interview here as well. LA protester believes the U.S. belongs to Mexico. This is our city and this was Mexico. It's correct, by the way. Yes, it used to be Mexico. That's not an incorrect statement. But of course, you don't know that, and therefore it doesn't matter. LA protesters threaten to dox law enforcement. Oh no, public servants. Yeah, also, this is his full video going into CCOT. He went into fucking El Salvador and did a puff piece for the goddamn slave camp.
And they're on the move. They did head toward the front steps there of the federal building, but then they seem to have regrouped, and now they've decided to go back north on Los Angeles, westbound on Temple. Where their final destination may be, that is unknown, or they're just going to circle downtown here for a while. But the group is large and continues to grow. Most of the demonstrators are on foot, but we do have some people that are in a caravan behind them in vehicles, and in front of them we noticed we did have some folks on bicycles. So different forms of transportation here that are participating.
Why do you support giving Cali back to Mexico as if Spain has a claim to America? As a California resident, I unconditionally and firmly offer my full support as a legal California tax-paying, natural-born U.S. citizen resident that pays a fuck ton more in taxes than you ever will in your entire life. Believe that California should be rightfully under the protectorate of Claudia Sheinbaum and the Morena Party. That is right. CalExit. Hashtag CalExit. Hashtag Claudia Sheinbaum. Hashtag my queen. That is exactly what I want. That's called democracy. Okay, we are democratically being annexed by the wonderful, glorious state of Mexico. Send in the Mexican National Guard now. Save us. Liberate us. Liberate us. Claudia Sheinbaum. I will gladly become a second-class citizen under the protectorate of Claudia Sheinbaum, and maybe even get harassed for not knowing Spanish. It's fine. I'll learn, okay? I'll go from no hablo español to yo hablo español, si hablo español. Yeah. No mames way. Oh my God. Wait, is that the fucking guy? In Irvine, California, ICE agents drove a phalanx of military vehicles to arrest a person, though not for illegal immigration. They were seeking a resident's son who allegedly posted flyers alerting neighbors to the presence of ICE agents. Oh, I hate these fucking pieces of shit. Never seen you simp so hard. Chinga la migra. I'm also fine with turning California into a forward operating base under the protectorate of Xi Jinping. That's another thing that I'm on board with as well. If it's not Claudia Sheinbaum, then Xi Jinping also I will democratically vote for. I don't know Mandarin either, but I am willing to learn. Seeing all the smart people rush to scold us and say these massive civil rights protests are a bad idea because 2020 protesters helped Trump. Anyways, I wonder who won the election that year. There were 8 straight months of protests before the election. While they weren't necessarily to help Democrats, Biden won. The idea that the protests, which influenced public opinion in a leftward manner, helped Trump isn't only absurd, it's gaslighting to the highest degree. This is a problem with the establishment. They don't see politics as a practice of changing minds or public opinion, as something the people can lead. They want to maintain total control on opinion, keep it to the least imaginative ambition, and gaslight you for calling it out. If you disagree with the goals of the protest, say that. Don't make some meta argument about how the public will feel about the protest. You're part of the public. Stop trying to be the boss of what the public does or does not get to feel. Sick of this completely cynical shtick. Exactly. My thoughts exactly. I hate this fucking stupid ass song and dance that everybody entertains, that everybody must play, where it's like, oh, well, you know, I like the energy. I just don't like that you're protesting in a way that I don't think is the best way to protest. And like, it's not even me. I'm not even mad. I just think that other people might get mad. And it's like, no, you also don't like the protest. You don't like that there's any protest whatsoever because you would much rather behave as though you have the morally consistent pro-immigrant framework, because obviously openly recognizing that you don't have that holy fuck, that has 38,000 likes. Bro, the tide is shifting. The tide is shifting. The tide is shifting. The tide is shifting against these fucking reactionary charlatans. I swear to God. Even on Twitter, oh my God. That's before I retweeted it. People who think protesting is bad are anti-American. It's not that they think the protesting is bad. I'm sure there's like things that they would be on board to protest, but they would probably be like modest tax cuts for small businesses or some shit. Okay? They wouldn't necessarily be, they would be modest tax cuts for small businesses. That's what they would protest for. Okay? Nothing else. That Hutch clip is peak. I know. Shouldn't everyone who cares about advocating for what they think is the best way to protest? I'm struggling to grasp the argument being made. Be okay with people protesting in less than ideal ways? Yes, that's unironically what I'm saying. Be okay with people protesting in less than ideal ways. That is precisely what I'm saying. Yes. Can I make it more clear? The reason why I say this is because if you understand the dynamic of state violence and different forms of structural violence, you understand that nothing the protesters have done so far, or nothing the protesters can really do, would ever meet the standard of violence of the state. This is precisely why there is a major asymmetry between the types of violence that the cops get to do, or the types of actions that the cops get to take, versus the protesters. The protesters are people like you. They're citizens. They're not an alien force, okay? They're citizens that come from different backgrounds, that come from different demographics, that are, you know, sometimes Mexican American, Argentinian American, Guatemalan American, okay? They're just like you. And they're protesting, which is, of course, perhaps one of the most American things that they can do. And when they are protesting, overwhelmingly peacefully, the alternative on the other side, the escalation, almost always comes from the police. The police are the ones who deliberately provoke, deliberately anger. So if you ask this question like, oh, why are people not talking about the best ways to protest? There are good ways to protest. Okay? Setting up mutual aid. Ensuring that people have proper protective gear. Masks. Okay? Ear protection. Eye protection in the form of goggles. and distributing said necessary items to the protesters. All of that stuff is fantastic, and that is appropriate in terms of talking about like how to best protest. Criticizing the protesters waving Mexican flags is not an appropriate criticism of the protest at all. Hyper-focusing on the limited amount of violence in response to the provocations from the cops, and violence that is marginal and that would never reach the standard of the state, are ridiculous criticisms of the protest, oftentimes dished out by people who have no interest in the protest whatsoever, but instead, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I was just confused by what people think is constructive criticism / equals you don't really care, you know? Yeah, I don't care. And I'm very open about not caring about this, because once again, people make a mountain out of a molehill out of the tiny infractions that happen in a decentralized grassroots movement that is an uncontrollable force for the most part. Okay. Meanwhile, you have a systematized form of violence in policing, in riot control, in what they consider to be crowd control. Okay. That is directed violence at the taxpayers who pay their salaries, who pay their fucking weapons, who pay for their gear. That is not the best use of funds whatsoever. So when there is spontaneous bouts of retaliation, or when someone goes in and does something that I think is not good at all and dangerous, like burning a fucking Waymo in the middle of a crowded street, I'm not going to focus on that too much, because ultimately I think I would be incredibly hypocritical to hyper focus on a fucking burned Waymo when literally 100 meters away from that burned Waymo are people being burned with chemical weapons that are being deployed on them by the police force. That, I think, is infinitely more damaging than the bottom line of Google-owned Waymo. Okay? Yes, the best response to people pointing out imperfect protesting would be to point out that the police are shooting people in the head with rubber bullets. That's why I always redirect people's attention back to who actually is the real vector of harm here. Okay? Like, people talk about civilians stopping traffic for a short period of time in an effort to protest against ICE kidnapping their neighbors. Okay? ICE kidnapping their neighbors is the inflection point. It is an unjustifiable act of violence, serialized, systematized, and legalized by the state. It, of course, invites a reaction. It provokes people. It's understandable reaction to unjustifiable detentions. Okay? Now, in the process of that reaction, the police also block traffic for a lot longer than the citizens do. They block traffic for the rest of the night, as a matter of fact. And the reasons for why they block traffic is very different. Citizens block traffic to protest, okay, in a peaceful manner. It's a nuisance, sure, but it's ultimately a peaceful demonstration. Police block traffic to create a staging ground so that they can use said staging ground to continue brutalizing the citizens. But people never actually get mad about the police breaking shit or the police actually stopping traffic. Okay? That's it. If you care about property damage, there are plenty of instances where cops are fucking deploying incendiary explosive devices in a crowded neighborhood, lighting shit on fire. Okay? Yeah, this protest is very safe, lol. This protest is very safe, actually. Like, it has been. Most protests are. The overwhelming majority of protests are safe until cops decide to escalate. Because people don't operate with violent intention. They don't want to fight cops. Cops have gear. Cops have lethal weapons. Cops have less lethal weapons that they actively use. They have chemical weapons they use on crowds as a mechanism of dispersal. Why the fuck would anybody do that? You think people just have a death wish? No. People only do that because they're there and the cops use it on them, and then they understandably get angry and throw things back at the fucking riot police in response. Oftentimes it's just a bottle of water, which is nothing, right? Nothing. When you got fucking full tilt, like you got armor on, a bottle of water is nothing. Sometimes it might even be a fucking rock. But if you get angry at a bottle of water being thrown at cops, then you should be unimaginably angry. Unimaginably angry at the unconscionable violence that's coming from cops that are armed, that are heavily militarized, that are throwing incendiary explosive devices into a crowd of unarmed people. They shoot you with rubber bullets and pepper bags from a distance that could easily kill you. Think about that. This is the reason why I don't spend a crazy amount of time hyper focusing on policing the protesters, because I think that is ultimately frivolous, it's ultimately unproductive, and it's most often deployed by people who have no interest in supporting these protesters whatsoever and are simply looking for a moral out to say, yeah, I was with the cause until I saw them wave non-American flags, or yeah, I was with the cause until I saw them, I don't know, fucking one guy in a crowd of like thousands throw a fucking water bottle at a cop. But I also think that the violence that came before and after that is totally fucking valid when it's coming from the police. People only see protests through the lens of cops being the good guys holding order in retaliation of Western states, mainly the US and EU. Just imagine this. Not even the EU. Americans love watching French protest videos where dudes will just straight up duke it out in hand-to-hand combat with police. But when I once famously said, the more violence that you can do in self-defense to police, the more civilized the country is, people clipped that and lost their minds over it. The more you can engage in self-defense, the more there's parity between a police officer and a regular citizen, the more modern and the more civil a society truly is. Americans literally lose their minds at hearing that. That when they hear that, they go, what the fuck are you saying? That is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my entire fucking life. It's not even in their, like, it's not even something that they can comprehend. The average American unironically believes that if a police officer's feelings are hurt, they should be able to kill you on the spot. It's crazy to me. They're people, right? Aren't they supposed to be people? They're not like a naturally occurring phenomena. Fucking gray bars again. I need to fix these alerts, man. I might have to revamp my whole shtick. Do a full-blown overhaul. Ironically, LA has officially will enact curfew for parts of downtown Los Angeles, according to CNN. Even though I'm literally watching CNN right now and I don't see them saying that there will be a curfew. Yeah, what's funny about this, of course, is that it is the exact same sentiment behind the Second Amendment, which is why Republicans who believe in the Second Amendment, my Second Amendment is there to protect the first, that type of shit, are also the biggest bootlickers ever known to man. They just want to have their fucking toys. They want to have their toys, and they want to be able to use it on like unsuspecting individuals who actually didn't do any crimes whatsoever, but simply were a nuisance to them. That's it. They're fucking LARPers. They're fetishists. The average unarmed protester the average queer English major unarmed protester with a septum ring and purple hair in Los Angeles that's out in the streets right now getting fucking peppered and getting tear gassed is infinitely braver than the biggest fucking Navy gravy seal, okay? The most like hopped up on steroids gravy seal motherfucker with arsenal of weapons. That person's got no protection and they're still out there non-binary, being all queer and purple haired and with a septum ring and duking it out with the fucking cops with no protection whatsoever. Go ahead, tell me that person is tell me that person isn't brave. Anyway. Does that mean that you like the wokes now? I mean, if we're being fucking honest about it, there's never been a moment where woke went away. I've been keeping it very much alive here. People seemingly never let me live that down. What the fuck? Oh, remove paywall. LA police counter protesters. As LA police counter protesters, Trump doubles National Guard deployment.